How y'all doing? What's happening this evening? The video gonna be about Jerry West, and Jerry West is upset about the Laker broadcast of the HBO documentary winning the dynasty, portrayal of the Lakers from the late '70s, '80s to their dynasty run, and Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Pat Riley, Dr. Jerry Buss, Norm Nixon, Jamal Wilson. You get to James Worth. You'll get to all that. But his portrayal as the GM being disgruntled and upset and mad and everything, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar chimed in and said how one-dimensional they are. Well, Hollywood movies, TV shows always romanticize stuff, but there is truth in it. Obviously, people close to Laker brass had to done some talking and talked about how West's attitude was, and as competitive Jerry West was, he wasn't happy about always losing to Boston, so course, that was going to be a strike. And of course, the Lakers had hit the doldrums there for quite a while in the '70s. So, yeah. And it's known that he wasn't exactly excited about drafting Magic Johnson. So, you know, um, excuse me. Um, Magic Johnson being portrayed as a sex addict and arrogant and pompous. That's not a surprise. That's part of him. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is presented as being aloof, well enlightened, but aloof to his teammates and from like a bygone era. That's not far fetched. Pat Riley like some guru who turned into this egomaniacal, Gordon Greco, Wall Street, slick, pompous dude. That's not far fetched. Dr. Jerry Buss, who was a bright dude, uh, smug, pompous, larger than life character, intelligent dude. That's not far fetched. When you look at Norm Nixon, street cat, being cool, fitting in with LA and all that whole scene, that's not far fetched. That's not far off what they were. Because Norm Nixon's son is portraying him in the TV documentary. He had to heard something from his father, had to hear some stuff. So it's not far fetched with the parts the oneness that they put on him, because I have never known anyone who was with the Lakers who was a Laker who didn't come across smuggy or arrogant or didn't have this kind of attitude. They all kind of possessed it. They were winning. This was a marquee team. There was a certain arrogance and an ego. The Larry Bird part that I watched last week was just like how Bird was. He talked cash trash. I don't think he would say anything different. So I don't understand why Jerry West, it's look. Now, one thing is for sure, they're not going to necessarily go into the depths of the greatness of him as a general manager. He's one of the greatest GMs ever in basketball. I'd say top five ever. I'd say as far as getting teams together, that man. But you see, if he was to tell the truth about what happened when Phil Jackson came along, then would it be still romantic? I don't think so. But he had a hand in getting Shaquille O'Neal to Lakers, and he had a big hand in trading for Kobe Bryant. So, you know, but things get they mostly successful organizations and franchise do have a lot of arrogance, and they have a lot of smug, and there's a lot of you know I'm my way or the highway. So to hear cats talking and say there's things that you take and there's picks and pops. But the thing about it is, watching this documentary, I remember what those Lakers were like. I watched them, and they definitely had there was a certain vibe there. Magic was party dude. Magic was on the scene, socializing, that whole LA scene, that whole thing. So they got into some kind of stuff, and they all had their own way of doing it. Now, the only Lake I ever seen that if I want to see how he would be portrayed, and then what they would paint him as would be AC Green, who was like Mr. Clean, which was I ain't gonna lie, if you play with them Lakers, any of that part of that run, and you still come off like that, you're an amazing cat. And AC Green was a pretty special cat, and he stayed in his own lane. That's a rarity, because those cats had something going on. But anyway, Jerry West, he was a great player, and arguably even a greater general manager. Maybe why he's the logo. But I mean, hey, being considered villainous or having attitude ain't the worst thing. There is a balance in the yin and yang, and maybe he doesn't like some of the things, and maybe, like I said, it could be parts of it that they go a little bit too far. But ask yourself, they didn't win and they lost to Boston. They took that personal, so it ain't all far fetched. There is, Hollywood fact and fiction, but it ain't all far fetched. But anyway, give me your thoughts and takes about Jerry West not liking his portrayal in the Laker documentary. What do you think? Please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts and comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands, keep your mind closed, watch out for another, and you know, it's Hollywood, so they'll make up this and that, but the parts that they're picking to give you character of each of the people and principles ain't off the mark because that's part of who they were. I'm out.